So I heard of this development yesterday while having a discussion with Dr. Soifat Angus, and obviously it also made its rounds via the mainstream media with that particular release out of Tobago stating that emergency mode would have been activated. Now we could safely say, looking again at the news cycle, guided by the news cycle, Dr. Faith Brebner, on the ground, putting out the mandate yesterday. She says, quote, "Don't panic." And with us this morning, Dr. Faith Brebner, to really bring some more details concerning this developing story. Of course, she is the Secretary of Health, Wellness and Social Protection. Dr. Brebner, thank you so much for the time and to give us the latest with this development out in the Sister Isle. Good morning.
Good morning, and yes, thank you for having me. And yes, I started by saying don't panic, because I think coming out of COVID, people have a little traumatized, and whenever they see something happening at a health facility, they automatically think that it is doomsday and it is the end of the world, and that is not happening. That has not happened. So if you really just look at the release said that we are going into emergency mode at the Scarborough General Hospital because we have very high admissions. We have high admissions of things that are, the things that people come to the hospitals and to the health centers for, their everyday run-of-the-mill thing. So it's not like we have an infectious outbreak or anything like that.
Because that was the talk, that was the rumor circulating on the island that there's a virus in the space, and I think people went into panic mode actually.
Well, so several things we need to think. And again, that is trauma. People are traumatized generally. So that, I guess, would be what they thought. But that is not what we said. And by the way, I think people, if you recognize the kind of leadership that I have used, if we were having a situation where there was a virus through the hospital or whatever, I would be the first to come out and say it. Because we need people, we needed to communicate what is happening so that people are fully aware, so that people can act appropriately. And that is exactly why we sent out this release. By the way, hospitals going to emergency mode is not a new thing. It has happened multiple times before I became Secretary for Health. Maybe the difference is I am the first Secretary for Health who insisted that we need to tell the public that this is what we're doing. It has happened in hospitals in Trinidad, and it's something that it's an administrative mechanism to help us balance what is happening. So let me explain what is happening. We seem to have a situation where more people, because the population seems to be a little bit unhealthy, more people seem to be presenting at the health facilities. And those who present at the health facilities are coming sicker. And because they are sicker, they need to be admitted. And when they are admitted, they are staying hospitalized for a longer period. So we now have a situation where practically all of our beds in the wards are filled. We recognize that there were people who were in A&E who were waiting to be warded, but because the wards are filled, we can't move them into the wards. So an emergency mode just means we are kind of halting this stuff that is not absolutely critical. What does that mean? If you have to do an elective surgery is, yes, you need to do the surgery, but it's not an emergency. You don't have to bound to do it today. We are holding those. Why are we holding those? Because even if it is an elective surgery, when you're done doing the surgery, you still need to go into a ward for a little bit of time to recover. We don't have the bed space to put you in the ward for a little bit of time to recover. And that gives us the opportunity to allow the health professionals who are within the system to, instead of focusing on some of these newer non-emergency cases, to look at the cases we have, identify who we can triage, who we can who we can discharge, identify who we can send to Roxborough, for example, because they are not as critical, they don't need to be at Scarborough General, and then we can balance it back out. And we are just asking for a little bit of time within the system to do that. That's all.
Dr. Brebner, let me ask, I know preventative healthcare, it's a major talking point with health professionals, and I've seen where you're you have plans to strengthen primary health care, so at least the health centers and the little area district, facilities could probably take some of the load and help people improve on their well-being. What are the plans and are the wheels turning in that regard, and what are the plans of action in the immediate future?
Right. So the other thing that we also said in the release, and I'm glad you raised it because I forgot, is that we are asking people who, if you do need medical care, that you do not need to go to the hospital, the accident and emergency for medical care, unless it's really something that is critical that requires that kind of care. So we're encouraging you to go to our health facilities. We have a myriad of health centers, just regular health centers, but we also have enhanced health centers, which are in Canaan, Bacalet, and Roxborough. We are currently refurbishing Charlottesville, but that would be an enhanced-ish kind of center when that comes back on stream. But yes, we've actually been actively working through how do we beef up primary care, because primary care is the health centers. That is where you get the prevention. That is where you get the person who is now coming in pre-diabetic, working with them to prevent them from becoming diabetic. Even somebody who is diabetic, working with them to take, to get them stabilized, to take them back to not being diabetic, which is possible with the right kind of primary care. And that is what we are actually building out right now, where we are reworking how we actually run the health centers to allow for that. So that is something that is going to come on stream. We are also thinking critically about what we need to do immediately, because the shift in the health center system is something that will take a little bit of time. But we are also thinking critically about what we can do to immediately, when I say immediately, I don't mean tomorrow, but as soon as possible, increase the volume of bed space that we actually have on the island, because the people who are sick now, who need the bed space now, need it now. So we are actually working through, I've tasked the TRHE with the responsibility of working through a plan, a short-term, medium-term, and then a long-term plan to ensure that we actually have the volume of bed space that is needed on the island.
Is it that I'm seeing the bed capacity stands at 130. Is that the case?
It's about that, yes, because we have about 100 in Scarborough and 20 something in Roxborough. But remember, if I am not mistaken, when we moved to Scarborough General Hospital, the new hospital, I think we actually reduced the volume of bed space that we had, which in and of itself, I am not sure. That was probably just poor planning, and that is what I'm actually trying to get the TRHE to do the forward-thinking planning, to recognize that the island, though we only have 60,000 now, we are trying to encourage people to come. We need to have visitors here. We need to increase our population size. We need to be nothing less than 100,000, so we need to have a health system that can take that type of burden, and that is what we are working through right now.
I saw Eddie Stewart from the Nurses Association. He actually applauded your, I guess, coming public with the particular situation. He also mentioned the nursing scenario, the fact that they don't get overtime. So I wanted to kind of ask, in terms of the personnel, yes, I know the capacity, you all were beyond capacity within the last couple of days, but is it that they are short-staffed? What's the capacity like when it comes to the staffing at these hospitals?
So even though we've had to go into the emergency mode now, we've actually been looking at the trends, and the trends are showing that it has been going up. That's why we decided to do this now. I actually want to thank Mr. Stewart for recognizing that what I've done. People frequently tell me that I am a good technocrat, I am a good representative, but I am not a good politician. And this is probably why, because I am willing to do the things that may seem politically incorrect, may seem not politically wise, but I am running an organization that requires the public to know what is happening for the organization to function. We are actively doing recruiting. As a matter of fact, within the last year or so, we have significantly beefed up our doctors and nurses and other auxiliary staff. And I saw a note recently about the TRHE about to hire some more nurses coming forward. So even though we've had shortages, our RHE is actually on the better side of nurse or professional patient ratio, because we have actively been working on that. So I hope in a couple weeks, Mr. Stewart would even be happier, because we are going to be bringing on some more nurses shortly.
What's the latest with the ambulance development that we saw via the news cycle? I heard the Chief Secretary mention that the procurement officer will give some details in the days ahead. But just for general knowledge, what's I mean, you would have heard the concerns with that. What's the latest there?
So let me correct. What this chief secretary said was that, so coming out of it, the OPR wrote to the TRHA requesting information, and the TRHA responded to the OPR with all of the information that they requested. I think we are awaiting a response from the OPR. So it was not the procurement officer that should be responding. It is the OPR, Office of Procurement Regulator, that needs to respond. And I am confident that they would say that we've done what we've done was follow the rules, because I'm not sure if you paid attention to the press conference that the TRHA did about the procurement of the ambulances. This is something that was long-standing, and this is something that went through the process. I have no fear that we did anything wrong, because we didn't do anything wrong. What we have, of course, are individuals who are trying their best to ensure that whatever progress has happened is tainted. And I want people to pay very close attention to that. Every single time we seem to be moving in the right step of the health system improving, particularly because those who are the loudest were there for the last 20-something years, and they didn't do what I am doing and what the current TRHA is doing in under 3 years. They are trying to dampen all of those things. And we want people to recognize that what we are doing is trying to ensure that we provide the best care for the people of Tobago. We are going to continue doing that within the laws. We are not breaking any laws. We are not doing anything wrong. We are doing what you hired me as a secretary for health to do. But you need to be careful when that kind of progress is happening, and those on the other side are very, very quick to throw water on them, really, because they have not been able to do it in the time that they were there, and they are finally seeing progress in healthcare on the island.
Dr. Brabner, Secretary of Health, Wellness and Social Protection, thank you so much for the time this morning and giving us the latest with the developments there in Tobago.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Up next, Police and You. That's right, Officer Russell joins me. We are dealing with child safety during this July-August vacation. All your vacations start from, well, tomorrow's last day, so it starts. Yeah. So vacation safety tips. Officer Russell up next.